hello, good evening. Welcome to the Patriot Players performance of the Laramie Project. We do have a couple of housekeeping things to take care of. Go ahead and get out your cell phones. Find us on Facebook, George Washington's Patriot Players. Give us a like. Give us a check-in. We'd love to have some check-ins that weren't at the basketball game, because all the ones during musical were. And then put your phones away for the rest of the evening. And do make sure they're on silent. So it is, as you know, imagine, it's a dramatic piece. And although I can't see you in the lights, I can see you. So do keep your phones away, keep them on silent, the little flashy lights and things like that. Check us out on Instagram. It's the Patriot Players 1617. The show does run about 2.5 hours with 2 10-minute intermissions. So that makes them even a little bit longer. So strap in. We have Kleenex at the end of the aisles. You will need it by the end of the night. So on the end of these rows, there is some Kleenex. Help yourself to that. During our intermissions, if you didn't on your way in, there's a lot of really cool stuff to look at in the lobby. Pictures of the cast and crew's trip to Laramie, where we met with Zach Schneider, who is a childhood friend of Matthew Shepard's, and where the wind effects that you hear during the show were actually recorded as close to the site as we could legally get to where Matthew is found. And the wind that they talk about in the play, it is not a myth. It is real and it is windy. So that's kind of when you hear that wind, you'll know where it came from. I almost feel like I can hear that special voice on the wind when I listen to that. It's really a cool feeling. One of our local churches donated the Peace Crane sculpture that you'll see in the lobby. 33,215 cranes were made, one to represent each victim of gun violence in the course of a year. And these were all floated by the members of a church, and they've donated 1,000 of those cranes to be on display during the performances of this show. Take a moment and look at that, and remember that each of those cranes represents a life. So I'm going to pass it on to Juliana Rohn now that I've made her cry. And this is our student director, Juliana. And
Juliana, that's all you need to know about me. We have an anti-defamation statement that we read before every performance, and it just goes as such. We, as the George Washington Patriot Players, strive to promote an inclusive environment that does not tolerate discrimination or hatred. Our aim is to embrace diversity through the performing arts and to show acceptance for everyone. Thank you. And the reason we wrote that is just because we want to make sure that everybody knows that theater is meant to be a 100% inclusive environment. We have a lot of diversity in our program. I think especially this year, it's really something else. And I'm so lucky to be a part of this community, and I especially think that this show is particularly important given our political climate, and I think all of the hatred that's kind of spewing around media and everything right now. So yeah, thank you guys for opening up the Laramie Project into your world, and I think it's a really beautiful show, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
On November 14th, 1998, the members of the Tectonic Theater Project traveled to Laramie, Wyoming, and conducted interviews with the people of the town. During the next year, we would return to Laramie several times and conduct over 200 interviews. The play you're about to see is edited from those interviews, as well as other found text and journal entries from members of the company. Greg Parati.
My first interview was with Detective Sergeant Hing of the Laramie Police Department, and at the start of my interview with him, he was sitting at his desk, sitting something like this.
I was born and raised here. My family is the third generation, and my grandparents moved here in the early 1900s. We've had basically three. Well, my daughter makes it fourth generation. So quite a while. It's a good place to live. Good people, lots of space. Now all the towns in southern Wyoming are laid out in space because the railroad came through. It was how far they could go before they had to stop, refuel, and rewater. And Laramie was a major stopping point. So that's why the towns are spaced that far apart. You know, we're one of the largest states in the country and the least populated.
There's so much space between people in towns here, so much time for reflection.
Rebecca Hilliker, head of the theater department at the University of Wyoming.
I found that people here were nicer than in the Midwest where I used to teach because they were happier. They were glad the sun was shining, and it shines a lot here.
What you've got is, you've got your old-time traditional type ranchers. They've been here forever. Laramie's been the hub of where they go for their supplies and other stuff like that.
Stewardship is one thing all our ancestors taught us.
Eileen Engen, rancher.
If you don't take care of the land, then you lose your living. So first of all, you have to take care of your land to do everything you can to improve it.
I love it here.
Doc O'Connor, limousine driver.
You couldn't put me back in that mess out there back east. Best thing about it, the climate. The cold, the wind. They say the Wyoming wind will drive a man insane, but it don't bother me. Well, some of the times it bothers me, but most of the time it don't.
And then you got the university population.
I moved here after living in a couple of big cities.
Philip Dubois, president of the University of Wyoming.
I loved it there. But you'd have to be out of your mind to let your kids out after dark. And here, in the summertime, my kids play out till 11 o'clock at night, and I don't think twice about it.
And then you have the people who live in Laramie, basically.
I moved here from rural Texas.
Zachy Salmon, Laramie resident.
Now in Laramie, if you don't know a person, you will definitely know somebody they know. So it can only be 1 degree removed at most. And for me, I love it. I mean, I love to go to the grocery store because I get to visit with 4 or 5 or 6 people every time I go. And I don't really mind people knowing my business because what's my business? I mean, my business is basically good.
I like the trains too. They don't bother me. Well, some of the times they bother me, but most of the times they don't. Even though one goes by my house every 13 minutes out where I live.
Doc O'Connor actually lives up in Boston, but everybody in Laramie knows him. Also, he's not really a doctor.
They used to carry cattle on trains. Now all they carry is diapers and cars.
I grew up in Cody, Wyoming.
April Silva, university student.
Laramie's better than where I grew up. I'll give it that.
Well, it's a good place to live. Good people, lots of space. Now, when the incident with that boy happened, a lot of press people came here. And one time some of them followed me out to the crime scene and, well, it was a beautiful day, absolutely gorgeous day. Real clear and crisp. The sky was that blue that you'll just never be able to paint. And the mountains in the background, they had a little snow on them. And this one reporter lady, she came up to me and she said,
"Well, who found the boy? Who was out here anyway?"
And I said, well, this is a really popular area for people to run, and mountain biking's really big out here. Horseback riding, it's just that it's close to town. And she looked at me and she said,
"Who the hell would want to run out here?"
and I thought, lady, you're just missing the whole point. You know, all you gotta do is turn around, see the mountains, smell the air, listen to the birds, just take in what's around you. And they were just nothing but the point. I didn't feel offended, but I felt that they were stupid. They're missing the point. They're just missing the whole point.
It is hard to talk about Laramie now, to tell you what Laramie is for us.
Jedediah Schultz.
If you would have asked me before, I would have told you Laramie is a beautiful town, secluded enough that you can have your own identity, a town with a strong sense of community. Everyone knows everyone. A town with a personality that most larger cities are stripped of. Now, after Matthew, I tell you Laramie is a town defined by an accident, a crime. We've become Waco, we've become Jasper. We are now a definition, a sign. We might be able to get rid of that, but it will sure take us a while.
Journal entries from members of the company. Mandy Paris.
Moises called, saying he had an idea for his next theater project. But there was a summons to his voice, so I asked him what it was all about, and he told me he wanted to do a piece about what's happening in Wyoming.
Stephen Belber.
Lee told me the company was thinking of going out to Laramie to conduct interviews and that they wanted me to come. But I'm hesitant. I have no real interest in prying into a town's unraveling.
Amanda Gronick.
I've never done anything like this in my life. How do you get people to talk to you? What do you ask?
Moises Kaufman.
The company has agreed that we should go to Laramie for a week and interview people. I'm a bit afraid about taking 10 people in a trip of this nature, so I must make some rules. First, no one works alone, and everybody carries a cell phone. I've made some preliminary contacts with Rebecca Heliker, the head of the theater department at the University of Wyoming. She is hosting a party for us our first night in Laramie and has agreed to introduce us to some possible interviewees.
I must tell you that when I first heard that you were coming here, when you first called me, I wanted to say, you just kicked me in the stomach. You know, why are you doing this? But then I thought, that's stupid, you're not doing this to me. And I thought about it, and I decided we've had so much negative closure on this whole thing, and the students really need to talk. When this thing happened, they started talking, and then the media descended and all dialogue stopped. You know, I really love my students because they're free thinkers. And you may not like what they have to say, and you may not like their opinions because, well, they can be very redneck, but they're honest and they're truthful, so there's an excitement here. There's a dynamic here that I never had when I was in the Midwest or in North Dakota, because there was so much Puritanism that dictated how people looked at the world, that oftentimes they didn't have an opinion, and you couldn't get them to express an opinion. So I'd rather have opinions I don't like and have that dynamic in education. There's a student I think you should talk to. His name is Jedediah Schultz.
I've lived in Wyoming my whole life. The family's been in Wyoming, well, for generations. Now, when it came time for me to go to college, my parents couldn't afford to send me to college. I wanted to study theater, and I knew that if I was going to go to college, that I would have to get on a scholarship. So they have this competition each year, this Wyoming State High School competition, and I knew that if I didn't take first place in duets, that I wasn't going to get on a scholarship. So I went to the theater department of the university looking for good scenes, and I talked to one of the professors. I was like, I need a killer scene, and he was like, here you go, this is it. And it was from Angels in America. So I read it, and I knew I could win best scene if I did a good enough job. And when the time came, I told my parents so they would come to the competition. Now, you have to understand, my parents go to everything. Every ball game, every hockey game, everything I've ever done. And they brought me to their room and told me that if I did that scene, that they would not come to see the competition, because they believed it was wrong. They believed that homosexuality is wrong. And they felt that strongly about it that they would not come see their son do the probably most important thing he had done to this point in his life. And I didn't know what to do. I had never, ever gone against my parents' wishes, so I was kind of worried about it, but I decided to do it. All I can remember about the competition is when we were done, my scene partner and I, we walked up to each other and we shook hands, and there was a standing ovation. It was amazing, and we took first place and we won, and this is how come I can be here at the university because of that scene. It was one of the best moments in my life, and my parents weren't there. And to this day, this is the one thing my parents didn't see me do. And thinking back on it, I think, why did I do it? Because I'm not gay, so why did I do it? And I guess the only honest answer I can give is, well, I wanted to win, and it was such a good scene. It was the best scene. Do you know Mr. Kushner? Maybe you can tell him.
Greg Parati.
We arrived today in the Denver airport, and we drove to Laramie. And when we crossed the Wyoming border, I swear I saw a herd of buffalo. Also, I thought it was strange that the Wyoming sign said,
Wyoming, like no place on earth.
instead of
Wyoming, like no place else on earth.
We stopped at a local inn for a bite to eat, and the waitress said to us,
Hi, my name is Debbie. I was born in 1954, and yes, Debbie Reynolds was big then, so there are a lot of us around. But I promise I won't slap you if you leave your elbows on the table.
Today the company tried to explain to me, to no avail, what chicken fried steak was.
Now, are you from Wyoming, or are you just passing through?
we're just passing through.
We arrived in Laramie tonight, just past the Welcome to Laramie sign, population 26,687. The first thing to greet us was Walmart. In the dark, we could be on any main drag in America. Fast food chains, gas stations, but as we drove into the downtown area by the railroad tracks, the building still looked like a turn-of-the-century western town. Oh, and as we drove past the University Inn, on the side where amenities such as heated pool or cable TV are usually touted, it said,
Hate is not a Laramie value.
Greg Parati.
I met today with two longtime Laramie residents named Allison Mears and Marge Murray, two social workers who taught me a thing or two.
Well, what Laramie used to be like when Marge was growing up, well, it was mostly rural.
Yeah, it was. My kids all had horses.
Well, there was more land. I mean, you could keep your pet cow, your horses, your little chickens, you know, have your little bit of acreage.
Yeah, you could run around the house when you're all together. Do the housework while the kids were at school, and nobody could see ya. And if they got that close, well then,
That's their problem.
yep.
Making sure I got the expression correct in your all-togethers.
Well, yeah, honey. Why wear clothes?
So how's he going to use that in his play?
So this was a big ranching town.
Well, not just ranching. This was a big railroad town at one time before they moved everything to Cheyenne and Green River and Omaha. So even now, it was a big drive-through spot for the railroad. And what was it, the 50s? Well, they had one big roundhouse, and it had such a shop that they could build a complete engine.
Yep. My mom worked there.
Mom worked in a roundhouse?
She did. She washed engines. Her name was Minnie. We used to sing that song for her. You know that song?
What song?
Run for the roundhouse, Minnie. They can't corner you there.
But I tell ya, Wyoming is bad in terms of jobs. I mean, the university has all the big, high, whoop-de-doo jobs, but Wyoming, unless you're a professional, the bulk of the people are working minimum wage jobs.
Yeah, I've been either in the service industry or a bartender my whole life. Now I know everybody in town.
And she does.
And I do. Now, I'll tell you, there's a difference in Laramie, and there always has been. What it is a class distinction. It's the difference between the well-educated and the ones that aren't. And the well-educated don't understand when the ones that aren't don't get educated. Now, that's why I told you before. My kids had to fight because their mother was a bartender. Never mind, I was the best damn bartender in town.
And she was.
That's not bragging. That's a fact.
But here in Laramie, if it weren't for the university, we pretty much be S-O-L.
What's SOL?
Oh, are you gonna make me say it? Well, it's shit out of luck. Oh, Lord. He's got that on his tape. Boy, are you getting an education today.
I suppose I am. So, let me ask you this. What was your reaction when this happened to Matthew Shepard?
Well, I've been close enough to the issue to know many of the people. I've got a daughter that's on the sheriff's department. As far as the gay issue, I don't give a damn one way or the other, as long as they don't bother me. And even if they did, I'd just say no thank you. And I think that's the attitude of most of the Laramie population. They might poke one, they've been in a bar situation, they've been drinking, they might even smack one on the mouth, but then they just say, I don't swing that way. Whistle on about their business. Laramie's about live and let live.
I'd say that Marge probably knows a lot more, except she's even willing to say, and well, we have to respect her for that.
Well, where are you going with this story?
Oh, well, we haven't yet decided. When we finish, we're planning on bringing it around to Laramie.
Okay, then. There are some parts I won't tell you.
Andy Paris. Today, for the first time, we met someone who actually knew Matthew Shepard. Trish Steger, owner of a shop in town, referred to him as Matt.
Matt used to come into my shop, that's how I knew him.
It was the first time I heard him referred to as Matt instead of Matthew. Did he go by Matt to everyone?
Well, I got a phone call 2nd of October around 7 p.m.
Doc O'Connor.
It was Matthew Shepard. And he said, can you pick me up at the corner of 3rd and Grand? So anyways, I pulled to the corner to see who Matthew Shepard. It's a little guy, 5'2", soaking wet, I bet you 97 pounds tops. They say that he was 110, but I wouldn't believe it. They also said in the papers that he was 5'5", but really, this man was only about 5'2", maybe 5'1". So he walks up to the window. I'm gonna try and go in steps so that you can better understand the principle of this man. He walks up to the window and I say, are you Matthew Shepard? And he says, yeah, I'm Matthew Shepard, but I don't want you to call me Matthew or Mr. Shepard, and I don't want you to call me anything. And my name is Matt, and I just want you to know I'm gay, and we're going to a gay bar. Do you have a problem with that? And I said, how you paying? Because the fact is, Laramie doesn't have any gay bars, and for that matter, neither does Wyoming. So he was paying me to take him all the way down to Fort Collins, Colorado, about an hour away. And Matt was a blunt little shit, too. You see what I'm saying? But I liked him, because he was straightforward. See what I'm saying? Maybe gay, but straightforward. You see what I'm saying?
I don't know, you know, how does one person ever really tell about another? You should talk to my sister Romaine. She was a very close friend of Matt.
Well, we never called him Matthew, actually. Most of the time we called him Choo Choo. Because, well, we used to call him Matthew, and then we just called him Choo Choo. And whenever I think about Matthew, I think of his incredible, beaming smile. He'd walk into a room and he'd just be like, you know, he smiled at everyone. He just made you feel great. And he used to like stare people down in the coffee shop because, well, he liked to sit on the end seat so that he could watch me work. So if someone was sitting in that seat, he'd just stand there and stare at them until they left. And then he'd claim his spot. But Matthew definitely had a political side to him. I mean, he really wanted to get into political affairs. That's all his big interest was watching CNN and MSNBC. I mean, that's the only TV station I ever saw his TV tuned into. He was really smart on, like, political affairs, but not too smart on, like, common sense things. So he moves to Laramie to go to school.
Matthew was very shy when he first came in,
John Peacock, Matthew's academic advisor.
to the point of being somewhat mousy, I'd almost say. He was having some difficulties adjusting, but this was home for him, and he made that quite clear. And so his mousiness, his shyness, gave way to a person who was excited about this path that he was going to embark on. He was just figuring out, wanting to work on human rights, what that was going to look like. And when that happens, this person begins to bloom a little bit. He was starting to say, wow, there are opportunities here. There are things I can do in this world. I can be important.
I did talk to hear from Matthew about 48 hours before the attack, and he told me that he had joined the gay and lesbian group on campus, and he was really enjoying it. I mean, he was getting ready for Pride and whatnot. Yeah, he was totally stoked about school. He was really happy about being here.
And in retrospect, and I can only say this, in retrospect, of course, I think that's where he was headed. Towards human rights. Which only adds to the irony and tragedy of this.
Now let me tell you something else here. There's more gay people in Wyoming than what meets the eye. They're not particularly, what do you call them? The queens, the gay people, the queens, the runaround faggoty types. No, they're the ones that like to throw bale and hay and jump on horses and brand them and kick ass. You see what I'm saying? It's as I always say, don't fuck with the Wyoming queer, because they will kick you in your ass, but that's not the point of what I'm trying to say here. Because I know a lot of gay people in Wyoming. I know a lot of people, period. I've lived up here some 40-odd years. You see what I'm saying? I don't think that Wyoming people give a damn one way or another if you're gay or you're straight. It's just like I said, it doesn't matter. If there's 8 men and 1 woman in a Wyoming bar, which is often the case now you stop and think, who's getting what? You see what I'm saying? Now, geez, it don't take a big, intelligent mind to figure that one out.
My understanding when I first came here
Catherine Conway.
is that I was the first out lesbian or gay faculty member on campus. And that was in 1992, so that wasn't that long ago. I was asked in my interview what my husband did, and so I came out then. Do you want a funny story? When you first get here as a new faculty member, there's all these things you have to do, and so I was in my office. And I noticed that this woman called, and I was expecting, it was a health insurance phone call, something like that. And so I called her back. I could hear her, she was working on her keyboard, clicking away. I said, this is Kathy Connolly returning your phone call. And she said, oh, it's you. And I thought, this is bizarre. And she said, I hear you're gay. I hear you are. And I was like, uh-huh. And she said, I hear you came as a couple. I'm one too. Not a couple, just a person. And so she was a kind of lesbian who heard that I was coming, and she wanted to come over and meet me immediately. And she later told me that there were other lesbians that she knew who wouldn't be seen with me, that I would irreparably taint them, that just to be seen with me could be a problem.
When I first came here, I knew it was going to be hard as a gay man.
Jonas Slonaker.
But I just kept telling myself, people should live where they want to live. And there would be times where I'd go down to Denver and I'd go to gay bars and, people would ask me where I was from and I'd say, Laramie, Wyoming. And I met so many men down there from Wyoming. So many gay men who grew up here and they're like, oh, that's not a place where I can live. I had to get out. Grr, grr, grr. But every now and then there'd be a guy. Oh gosh, Laramie, I miss it there. I really like it there. And I'm like, look, if you want to live somewhere, do it. I mean, imagine if more gay people lived in small towns. It's easier said than done, of course.
Today we are moving from our motel and heading for the Best Western.
Moises Kaufman.
My hope is that it is a better Western.
Amanda Bronick.
Today we divided up to go to different churches in the community. Moises and I were given a Baptist church. We were welcomed into the services by the minister himself, standing at the entrance to the chapel. This is what I remember of the sermon that morning.
My dear brothers and sisters, I am here today to bring you the word of the Lord. Now, I have a simple truth that I tell to my colleagues
and I'm gonna tell it to you today. The word is either sufficient or it is not. Now, scientists tell me that human history, that the world is 5 billion or 6 billion years old. After all, what's a few billion years, give or take? Now, the Bible tells me that human history is 6,000 years old. The word is either sufficient or it is not.
The sociology of religion here in the West.
Stephen Meade Johnson, Unitarian minister.
Dominant religious traditions in this town. Baptist, Mormon, they're everywhere. It's not just Salt Lake, you know. They're all over, okay? It's like jam on toast down here.
The Mormon Church has a little different thing going that irritates some folks.
Doug Laws, state ecclesiastical leader for the Mormon Church.
And that is that we absolutely believe that God still speaks to men. We don't think that it happened and some folks wrote it in the Bible. God speaks to us today, and we believe that. We believe that the prophet of the church has the authority to receive inspiration and revelation from God.
So the spectrum would be, on my left, so far left that I'm probably standing here by myself, is me and the Unitarian Church. Unitarians are by and large humanists, many of whom are atheists. You know, we're not really sure we're a religion. And to my right, to his credit, Father Roger, Catholic priest. And God bless him, he did not equivocate at all when this happened. He hosted the vigil for Matthew that night.
I was really jolted because when we did the vigil, we wanted to get other ministers involved. And, well, we called some of them, and you know what? They weren't going to get involved. It was like, we're going to stand back and see which way the wind is blowing. And that angered me immensely. I thought, we're supposed to stand out as leaders. Wow, what is going on here?
God has had boundaries, and one of our responsibilities is to learn. What is it that God wants? Now, you study scripture and you look to your leaders, then you kind of know what the bounds are, and once you kind of know what the bounds are, you sort of get a feel for what's out of bounds. There is a proclamation that came out on the family. A family is defined as one woman and one man and children. That's a family. That's about as clear as you can state it. There is no sexual deviation in the Mormon Church. No leniency. We just believe it's out of bounds.
I warn you, you will be mocked. You will be ridiculed for the singularity of your faith. You let the Bible be your guide. It's in there. It is all in there.
Many of the Christian pastors were silent on this. Conservative Christians use the Bible to show the rest of the world that it says here in the Bible. And most Americans believe, and they do, that the Bible is the Word of God. How are you going to fight that?
I am a biblicist, which means the Bible doesn't need me to be true. The Bible is true, whether I believe it or not. The Word is either sufficient or it is not.
I arrived in Laramie on September 15th. I looked around, tumbleweed, cement factories, and I thought, what the hell am I doing in Wyoming? 3 weeks later, I found out what the hell I'm doing in Wyoming.
Today, I met with a university student named Zubaida Ullah. She is an Islamic feminist who likes to do things her own way.
I've lived in Laramie since I was 4. My parents are from Bangladesh. 2 years ago, because I'm Muslim, I decided to start wearing a scarf. And that's really changed my life here in Laramie, yeah. Like, people will come up to me and they'll say things like, why do you have that thing in your head? Like when I go to the grocery store, I'm not looking to give people Islam 101. So I'll be like, well, it's part of my religion.
And then they'll be like, and this is the worst part, because then they'll be like, I know it's a part of your religion, but why? I mean, how am I supposed to go into a whole doctrine of physical modesty and my own spiritual relationship with the Lord, sitting there with my pop and chips? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like so unreal to me that, yeah, a group from New York will be writing a play about Laramie. And I was picturing, like you're gonna be on stage in New York, and you're gonna be acting like you're us. It's so weird.
Hello? Yes, hello? This is Amanda Gronick. I'm here in Laramie with the theater company, and I went to the Reverend, your husband's service on Sunday, and I was extremely interested in talking to him about some of his thoughts about recent events.
Oh, I don't think he'll want to talk to you. He has very biblical views about homosexuality. He doesn't condone that sort of violence, but he doesn't condone that sort of lifestyle either. And he was just bombarded by the press after this happened, and the media's been just horrible about this whole thing.
Oh, I understand. I really do. It must have just been terrible.
Oh, yes. I think we're all hoping this just goes away.
Well, do you think I could call back later and talk to him?
All right. You can call back tonight about 9 o'clock.
Okay, I'll do that.
Today, Barbara and I went to the Fireside Bar, which is the last place Matthew was seen in public.
The Fireside definitely feels like a college bar with a couple of pool tables and a stage area for karaoke night. Still, the few regulars in the late afternoon were hardly the college crowd.
The first person we talked to was Matt Nicholson, the owner.
My great-great-grandfather moved here in 1862. He owned Laramie's first opera house. It was called Old Blue Front, and in 1870, Louisa Grandpa Swain cast the first women's ballot in any free election in the world. That's why Wyoming is the equality state. Now, what I want to do is reestablish my bar business as Old Blue Front Opera House and Good Time Emporium, you know? I want to have a restaurant, I want to have a gift shop, I want to have a pool hall, and do all this shit, you know? Now, the Fireside is the first step towards the Old Blue Front Opera House and Good Time Emporium.
So, what about the night Matthew Shepard was here?
We had karaoke that night. 20 or 30 people here. Matthew Shepard came in sitting right where you're sitting, just hanging out, you know. I mean, if you want to talk to somebody, you should probably talk to Matt Galloway. He was the kid that was bartending that time. You should definitely meet him. His character speaks for itself. Hey, is Galloway bartending tonight?
Okay, I'm gonna make this brief, quick, get it over with, but it will be everything. Factual. Just the facts. Okay, here we go. 10 o'clock, I clock in, usual time, Tuesday nights. 10:30, Matthew Shepard shows up. Alone, sits down, orders a Heineken.
Filibury, friend of Matthew Shepard.
Matt liked to drink Heineken and nothing else. Heineken, even though it was $9.50 a six-pack, he'd always drink the same beer.
So, what can I tell you about Matt? If you had 100 customers just like him, it'd be the most perfect bar I'd ever been in, okay? And nothing to do with sexual orientation. Absolute mannerisms. Manners. Politeness, intelligence. Taking care of me, as in tips. Everything. Dress nice, clean cut. Some people, you know, sits down, please, thank you. Offers intellect, you know, within their vocabulary. So he kicks it here. Didn't seem to have any worries or like he was looking for anyone, just enjoy his drink and the company around. Now, approximately 11:45, 11:30, Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson show up. Now, I didn't know their names then, but they're the accused. They're the perps. They're the accused. They show up just very stone-faced, you know, dirty, grungy, rude, gimme, that type of thing. They show up, and as you know, paid for a pitcher with dimes and quarters, which is something that, I mean, you don't forget. You don't forget that. $5.50 in dimes and quarters. Now, that's a freaking nightmare. Now, Henderson and McKinney didn't seem intoxicated at all. They came in, just ordered a beer, took the pitcher with them back there in the pool area, and kept to themselves. Next thing I knew, probably half an hour later, they were kind of walking around, no beer. And I remember thinking to myself that I am not going to ask them if they want another one, because obviously they just paid for a pitcher with dimes and quarters, and I got a real good feeling they don't have any more money.
Romaine Patterson.
Money meant nothing to Matthew because he came from a lot of it. I mean, he'd whip out his wallet in like 2 seconds because money meant nothing. His shoes might have meant something. They can say it was robbery, but I won't believe it for even an iota of a second.
Then, a few moments later, I looked over and McKinney and Henderson had been talking to Matthew Shepard.
Aaron said that a guy walked up to him and said that he was gay and wanted to get with Aaron and Russ.
Kristen Price, girlfriend of Aaron McKinney.
And that he got aggravated with it and said that he was straight and didn't want anything to do with him and walked off. He said that's when he and Russ went to the bathroom and decided to pretend they were gay and get him in the truck and rob him.
Okay, no. They stated that Matt approached them, that he came on to them. I absolutely, positively disbelieve and refute the statement 100%. Refute it. I'm going to give you 2 reasons why. 1, character reference. Why would he approach them? Why them? He wasn't approaching anybody else in the bar. They say he's gay. He's a flaming gay. He's going to come on to people like that. Bullshit. He never came on to me. Hello? He's going to come on to them? I don't believe it. 2, territorialism is the word I'll use for this. And that's the fact that Matt was sitting here. Aaron and Russell were in the pool area. Upon their first interaction, they were in Matt's area, in the area that Matt had been seen sitting all night. So who approached who by that?
But Matthew is definitely the type of person who, like, he never not talked to anyone for any reason. Like, if someone approached him and started talking to him, he'd just be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Because, well, he never had problem just striking up a conversation with anybody.
Matt did feel lonely a lot of the time. Me knowing that and, well, knowing how gullible Matt could be, well, he would have walked right into it. The fact that he was alone at the bar that night just made him that much more vulnerable.
So, the only thing is, and this is what I'm testifying to, because, you know, I'm also basically the key eyewitness in this case. So basically, what I'm testifying is that I saw Matthew leave. I saw 2 individuals leave with Matthew. I didn't see their faces, but I saw the backs of their heads. At the same time, McKinney and Henderson were no longer around. You do the math.
But actually, I think the DJ was the last one to see him on his way out that night. Gave him a cigarette or something. His name is Shadow.
I was the last person Matt talked to before I left the fireside that night. I was just bullshitting around with my shit, and he stopped me. No, I stopped him actually. He's like, hey Shadow, da 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 da. And I'm like, what man, you getting ready to leave? He's like, yeah man. And then I seen those 2 guys, and they stood outside, and they were looking over at him, and he was looking back at them. So I stood and talked to Matt for a good 10 minutes, and you seen the guys, you seen them getting like worried, you know, anxious to leave and shit. So when they took off, I seen it. When they took off, the 3 of them sat up front, and Matt sat in the middle in a big truck, or a small truck, I guess, a black one. And I didn't think nothing of it, you know. I didn't figure them guys were gonna be like that.
anonymous friend of Aaron McKinney.
Oh, I've known Aaron for a long time. Aaron was a good kid. I liked Aaron a lot. That's why I was shocked when I heard this. I mean, I know he was living out far. At his trailer house is what he told me. With his girl. They just started dating last summer, but they must have gotten pregnant as soon as they started dating. Because he had a kid. He's only 21 years old and running around with a kid. You see, that's just the kind of person Aaron was, you know? He was always dressed in these big clothes like Tommy Hilfiger, Polo, Gucci. At the time I knew him, he was just a scared kid. He was trying to fit in, so he was acting tough, acting cool. But you get in his face about it, he would back down. He was some sort of scared kid.
Sherry Allenton.
Russell was just so sweet. He was the one who was the Eagle Scout. I mean, his whole presence was just quiet and sweet, and so it doesn't make any sense. And I know people snap it, and it wasn't a real intimate relationship. I was just his landlord. We did work together at the Chuck Wagon, too, and I remember, like, at the Christmas party, he was just totally drunk out of his mind, like we all were pretty much, just party time, and he wasn't belligerent. He didn't change. His personality didn't change. He was still the same little meek Russell. I remember he came up to me and said, "When you get a chance, Sherry, can I have a dance?" Which we never did get around to doing that, but now I just want to shake him, you know? What were you thinking? What in the hell were you thinking?
Stephen Meade Johnson.
The fence. I've been out there 4 times, and I've taken visitors. That place has become a pilgrimage site. Clearly, that's a very powerful, personal experience to go out there. It is so stark and so empty. And you can't help but think of Matthew out there for 18 hours in nearly freezing temperatures. With that view up there isolated from the world, and the God, my God, why have you forsaken me, comes to mind.
Greg Pirani.
Phil Labrie, a friend of Matthew's, took us to the fence today. I broke down the minute I touched it, and I just feel such a kinship with this young man. On the way back, I made sure no one saw me crying.
Lee Fondakowski.
Greg was crying on the way back. I couldn't bring myself to tears, but I felt the same way. I have an interview this afternoon with Aaron Kreifels, the boy that found Matthew out there at the fence. I don't think I'm up for it right now. I'm gonna see if someone else can do it.
Well, I took off on my bicycle about 5:00 p.m. on Wednesday from my dorm. I just felt like going for a ride. So I got up to the top of Cactus Canyon, and I'm not super familiar with that area. So on my way back down, I was just sort of picking the way to go, which now it makes me think that God wanted me to find him. Because there is no way I was going to go that way. So I was in some deep ass sand, and I just wanted to turn around, but I kept going. So I went along, and there's a rock on the ground, and I just drilled it. I went over the handlebars and onto the ground. So I got up and was sort of just dusting myself off and looking around, and I noticed something, which ended up to be Matt. And he was just laying there by a fence, and I just thought it was a scarecrow. I was like, Halloween's coming up. I thought it was a Halloween gag. So I didn't think much of it. So I got my bike and walked it around the fence that was there. It was a buck-type fence. And I got closer. And that's when I noticed his hair. And that was a major key to me noticing was a human being, was his hair. Because I just thought as a dummy, seriously. I even noticed the chest going up and down, but still thought it was a dummy. I just thought it was a mechanism. But when I saw hair, I just knew as a human. So I ran to the nearest house and I just ran as fast as I could and I called the police.
Reggie Flutie. I responded to the call. When I got there, at first, the only thing I could see was partially somebody's feet. And I got out of my vehicle and I raced over. I seen what appeared to be a young man, 14 years old, because he was so tiny, lying on his back, and he was tied to the bottom end of the fence. I did the best I could. The gentleman that was lying on the ground, Matthew Shepard, he was covered in dry blood. There was dry blood underneath him, and he was barely breathing. He was doing the best he could. I was going to breathe for him, but I couldn't get his mouth open. His mouth wouldn't open for me. He was covered in, like I said, partially dry blood and blood all over his head. The only place that he did not have any dry blood on his face was where it appeared that he had been crying down his face. His head was distorted, you know, it did not look normal. He lifted at it. He looked as if he had a real harsh head wound.
I was working the emergency room the night that Matthew Shepard was brought in. I don't think that any of us had seen a patient in that condition for a long time. Those of us who worked in big city hospitals have seen this, but, well, we have some people who haven't worked in big city hospitals, and it's not something you expect to see here. The way you expect it, you expect to see these kinds of injuries from a car going down a hill at 80 miles an hour. You expect to see gross injuries from that, this horrendous, terrible thing. But you don't expect to see this from somebody doing this to another person. The ambulance report said it was a beating, so we knew.
And there was nothing I could have done. I mean, if there's anything I could have done, I would have done, but there was nothing. And I was yelling at the top of my lungs, like, hey, wake up below, but he didn't move, he didn't flinch, he didn't anything.
He was tied to the bottom end of the pole. His hands were thumbs out. We call it cuffing position. The way we handcuffed him. He was bound with a real thin white rope that went about 4 inches up off the ground. It went around the bottom of the pole. His shoes were missing. He was tied extremely tight, so I got my boot knife and I tried to slip it between the rope and his wrist. I had to be extremely careful not to harm Matthew any further.
Well, your first thought is, well, certainly you'd like to think that it's somebody from another town who comes through and beats somebody, but things like this happen. You know, shit happens, and it happens in Laramie. But certainly if there's been somebody who's been beaten repeatedly, well, That's something that offends us. And I think that's a good word. It offends us.
He was bound so tight, I finally got my knife through there. I'm sorry. We rolled him onto his left side. When we did that, he quit breathing. Immediately, I put him back on his back, and that was just enough of an adjustment. It gave me just enough room to cut him free. I seen the EMS unit trying to get up to the location. When it got there, we put a neck collar on him, placed a backboard under him, and scooted him out from under the fence. Then Rob drove the ambulance to Ivinson Hospital's emergency room.
Now, the strange thing is that 20 minutes earlier, Aaron McKinney had been brought in by his girlfriend. Now, I guess he had gotten into a fight later that night back in town, so I'm working on Aaron, and the ambulance comes in with Matthew. Now, at this point, I don't know there's a connection at all. So I told Aaron to wait, and I go treat Matthew. So there's Aaron McKinney in one room of the emergency room, and Matthew Shepard in another room, 2 doors down. No, as soon as we saw Matthew, it became quite clear that his care was beyond our capabilities. Called the neurosurgeon down in Pooter Valley, and he was on the road in an hour and 15 minutes, I think.
They showed me a picture. Days later, I saw a picture of Matthew. I would have never recognized him.
And then 2 days later, I found out the connection, and I was very struck. They were 2 kids. They were both my patients, and they were 2 kids. I cared for both of them, both of their bodies, and, well, I wondered for a second if this is how God feels when he looks at us, how we are all his children, our bodies, our minds, and, well, I felt a great deal of compassion for both of them.
There will now be a 10-minute intermission.
It was Thursday afternoon.
Rulon Stacy at Pooter Valley Hospital.
We got a call. We just got a kid in from Wyoming, and he appears to be the victim of a hate crime. And there are a couple news reporters here asking questions, and so we agreed that we needed a spokesperson and a CEO. I will do that, and we will try to gather as much information as we can.
And then they started talking about it on the 10 o'clock news, where they started speaking about the nature and the seriousness of it.
So I'm on the phone with Mickelson, and he's like, we need to get to the arraignment so we can identify these guys and make sure these guys were in the bar.
So we go to the arraignment.
Our focus today turns to Laramie, Wyoming, a city on the high plains that has doing some soul searching in the wake of a vicious, apparent anti-gay hate crime.
The arraignment was on Friday, right around lunchtime, and I said, I'm just going. I just took off. It's just down the street, so I walked a few blocks and I went. Has anybody told you about the arraignment? There were probably about 100 people from town and about as many news media by that point. A lot more of the details had come out. The fact that the perpetrators were kids themselves, local kids that everybody who's from around here has some relationship to. And what I think everyone was really waiting on pins and needles for what would happen when the perpetrators walked in. And what happened, there's 200 people in the room at this point. They walked in their complete orange jumpsuits and their shackles, and you could have heard a pin drop. It was incredibly solemn. I mean, lots of people were teary by that point. Then the judge came in and did a reading. There's a reading of the evidence that the prosecution has, and it's just, it's a statement of the facts. And the reading of the facts was...
The essential facts are the defendants, Aaron James McKinney and Russell Arthur Henderson, met Matthew Shepard at the Fireside Bar, and after Mr. Shepard confided that he was gay, they proceeded to deceive Mr. Shepard into leaving with them in their vehicle to a remote area. Upon arrival at said area, both subjects tied their victim to a buck fence, tortured him, robbed him, and beat him. Both defendants were later contacted by officers of the Laramie Police Department who observed in the cab of their pickup a credit card and a pair of patent leather shoes belonging to the victim, Matthew Shepard.
I don't think there was anybody who was left in that courtroom who wasn't crying by the end of it. I mean, it lasted 5 minutes, but it kept on getting more and more horrific, ending with...
Said defendants left the victim begging for his life.
How could this happen? I think a lot of people just don't understand. And even I don't really understand how somebody could do something like that. We have one of the most vocal populations of gay people in the state. And it's pretty much live and let live.
My secret hope was that they were from somewhere else. And then, of course, we can create some sort of distance. We don't grow kids like that here. Well, it's pretty clear that we do grow kids like that here.
So that was the arraignment, and my response was pretty catatonic. Not sleeping, not eating. Don't leave me alone right now.
More and more details came in about the sheer brutality, motivations, how this happened. And then, quite frankly, the media descended and there was no time to reflect on it anymore.
Excuse me, sir! Please get any of your takes on this defense.
Laramie, Wyoming! Often called the Twin City of the Plains, now it's the Eye of the Storm.
Aaron McKinney and his friend Russell Henderson were out of town.
As a gay college student lay hospitalized in critical condition after a severe beating.
People would like to think that what happened to Matthew was an exception to the rule, but it is an extreme version of what happens in our schools on a daily basis.
It's tough business. Matt Shepard and his friends all knew to be gay in cowboy country.
It was huge. Yeah, it was herds, and we're talking hundreds of reporters, which makes a huge dent in this town's population. We're talking reporters everywhere, news trucks everywhere in town, everywhere on the campus. And we're not used to that type of attention to begin with. We're not used to that type of exposure.
Tiffany Edwards, local reporter.
These people are predators. Like this one journalist actually caught one of the judges in the bathroom at the urinal and was like asking him questions. And the judge was like, "Excuse me, can I please get some privacy?" And the journalist was like, offended that he asked for privacy. I mean, this is not how journalism started. Like, the Gutenberg Press, you know?
I'll tell you what, when hard copy tapes me, I taped them at the exact same time. I have every word I have ever said on tape. So if any of them tries anything funny, they better watch their ass.
Wyoming Governor Jim Carragher, a first-term Republican up for re-election.
I am outraged and sickened by the heinous crime committed on Matthew Shepard. I extend my most heartfelt sympathies to the family.
Governor, here!
You haven't pushed hate crime legislation in the past.
I would like to urge the people of Wyoming against overreacting in a way that gives one group special rights over others. We will wait and see if the vicious beating and torture of Matthew Shepard was motivated by hate.
What you've got is, you've got the beginning of the news story. And they have graphics in the background. And they have murder in Wyoming. And Wyoming's dripping red. Dripping red like it's got blood on it or something. And we're here going, what is this? This is sensationalism. Hey! We had the guys in jail in less than 2 days. I think that's pretty damn good.
And for us to be more or less maligned,
Eileen and Gil and
that we're not good people. And we are. The majority of people here are good people.
You get your bad apples now and again, but I think the gay community is using this to their advantage, saying this is a way for us to exploit this.
Bill McKinney, father of one of the accused.
Mr. McKinney!
Had this been a heterosexual boy that these two decided to take out and rob, this never would have made the national news. Now, my son is guilty before he's even had a trial.
Look, I do think that media actually made people accountable because it made people think. Because people were sitting in their homes, like watching TV and listening to CNN and watching Dan Rather and going, Jesus Christ. Well, that's not how that is here. Well, how is it here?
Matthew Shepard, medical update. Sunday, October 10th.
By this point, I looked out there where there'd been 2 or 3 reporters, and there were now 10 to 15 still photographers, another 20 to 30 reporters, and 10 video cameras. The parents had just arrived, and I barely introduced myself to them before looking out again, and I thought, my gosh, what am I going to do? Matthew Shepard was admitted in critical condition approximately 9:15 p.m. October 7th. Upon arrival, he was unresponsive and breathing support was being provided. Matthew's major injuries upon arrival consisted of hypothermia as well as a fracture from the back of his head to just the front of his right ear. This has caused bleeding on the brain as well as pressure on the brain. Over the past 24 hours, Matthew's temperature has fluctuated from 98 degrees to 106 degrees. We've had difficulty regulating his temperature. Matthew's parents arrived on October 7th p.m. and at 7 p.m. and the following is a statement.
First of all, we would like to thank the American public for their kind thoughts about Matthew and their fond wishes for his speedy recovery. We appreciate your prayers and goodwill, and we know that they are something Matthew would appreciate too. We also have a special request for the members of the media. Matthew is very much in need of his family right now. So we ask that you please respect our privacy as well as Matthew's, so we can concentrate all of our efforts, thoughts, and love on our son. Thank you very much.
Both Aaron James McKinney and Russell Arthur Henderson pled not guilty to charges. Their girlfriends, Chastity Paisley and Kristen Price, also pled not guilty after being charged as accessories after the fact. On our next trip to Laramie, we spoke with Detective Sergeant Rob Debris of the Albany County Sheriff's Department.
I guess the thing that bothered me the most was going down to Poudre Valley where Matt was and seeing him, touching him, and as a homicide detective, you look at bodies and here's this poor boy fighting all his life. I wanted it so by the book, you know.
I keep seeing that picture in my head of when I found him.
Aaron Krivers.
And it's not... I don't want it there. I want to, like, get it out. And that's the big part for me in all this. Like, the question for me, like with my religion and God, is why did God want me to find him?
I know how to take care of myself, and I was irrationally terrified.
Catherine Connolly.
So what that means is not letting my 12-year-old son walk the streets, seeing a truck do a U-turn and thinking it's coming after me, having to stop because I'm shaking so bad. And in fact, that pickup truck did not come after me, but my reaction was to have my heart in my mouth.
Ultimately, no matter how you dice it, I did have an opportunity.
Matt Galloway.
If I'd had amazing hindsight of 2020 to have stopped what occurred, and I keep thinking I should have noticed these two guys should not have been talking to this guy. Should have not had my head down for those 20 seconds while I was washing dishes. Things I could have done. What the hell was I thinking?
So as a detective, you study, you spend hours and hours and hours, you study and you study and you study, talking to the officers and making sure they understand and interviewing your witnesses again and always coming back to, I get this flash of seeing Matthew. I wanted it so tight that there was no way that they were going to get out of this.
One of the things that happened when I got to the fence.
Reggie Flutie.
There was such an overwhelming amount of blood, and we try to wear protective gloves, but, you know, really cheap. Sheriff at the time, he bought us shit gloves, you know, so you put them on, you put them on, you put them on, and they keep breaking, so finally you just run out of gloves, you know, but you know, don't hesitate, you know, and that's what your mind tells you, don't hesitate, so you try to keep moving, and you try to help Matthew, and you try to find an airway, and that's what you do, you know?
What I wasn't telling you before is that Reggie's my daughter.
Marge Murray.
And when she first told me she wanted to be a police officer, well, I thought there was not a better option for her. She could handle whatever came her way.
Probably about a day and a half later, the hospital called me and told me Matthew had HIV. And they said, you've been exposed and you've had bad exposures because, you see, I had been building a lean-to for my llamas, so my hands had a bunch of open cuts on them, so I was kind of screwed, you know?
Would you like to talk about losing sleep?
So I said to the doctors, okay, what do I do? And they said, get up here. So I got up there and we started the ATZ drugs immediately.
Now, they told me that's a medicine that if it's administered 36 hours after you've been exposed, it could maybe stop you getting the disease.
That is a mean, nasty medicine. Mean, I've lost 10 pounds, a lot of my hair. Yeah.
And quite frankly, I wanted to lash out at someone. Not at Matthew, please understand that. Not one of us was mad at Matthew. Maybe wanted to squeeze McKinney's head off, and I think about Henderson. And two absolutely human beings cause so much grief for so many people. It's been terrible for our whole family, but mostly for her and her kids.
I think it really brought home to my girls what their mom does for a living.
Well, Reggie, you know what I'm gonna tell you now.
My parents, they both said the same damn thing.
You're quitting this damn job.
And it's just a parent thing, you know, because they're awfully proud of you, because you do a good job, whether or not you're handling a drunk or handling a case like this, but oh, they don't want you getting hurt.
Like I said, there's a right way, a wrong way, And then there's Reggie's way.
So I finally said, oh, for God's sake, lighten up, Frances.
You are so stubborn.
Oh, they say I'm stubborn, but I don't believe them. I just think, okay, I've heard your opinion now. Here's mine. I'm 39 years old, for Christ's sake. What are you going to do, spank me?
Don't give me any ideas, Reggie.
Look pretty funny. You know? What can they say?
I just hope she doesn't go before me. I don't think I could handle that.
Well, this is a young person who read my statement in the Denver Post story and sent me an email to me directly and said,
You and the straight people of Laramie and Wyoming are guilty of the beating of Matthew Shepard, just as the Germans who looked the other way are guilty of the deaths of the Jews, the gypsies, and the homosexuals. You have taught your straight children to hate their gay and lesbian brothers and sisters. Unless and until you acknowledge that the beating of Matt Shepard was not just a random occurrence, not just the work of a couple of random crazies, you have Matthew's blood on your hands.
And, well, I just can't begin to tell you what that does to me. And it's like, you can't possibly know what I'm thinking. You can't possibly know what this has done to me, and my family, and my community.
That first week alone, vigils were held for Matthew in Laramie, Denver, Fort Collins, Colorado Springs, and soon after in Detroit, Chicago, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Nashville, Minneapolis, and Portland, Maine, among others. In Los Angeles, 5,000 people gathered. And in New York City, a political rally ended in civil disobedience and hundreds of arrests. And the Poudre Valley Hospital website received close to 1 million visitors from across the country and around the world, all expressing hope for Matthew's recovery. Matthew Shepard Medical Update, Sunday, October 11th.
As of 9 a.m. today, Matthew Shepard remains in critical condition. The family continues to emphasize that the media respect their privacy. The family would also like to thank the American public for their overwhelming thoughts and concern for their son.
There are certain things when I sit in church.
Jedediah Schultz.
And the Reverend will tell you flat out that he doesn't agree with homosexuality. And I don't know, I think right now I'm going through changes. I'm still learning about myself and I just don't feel like I know enough about certain things to make a decision that says homosexuality is right. When you've been raised your whole life that it is wrong, and right now I'd say I don't agree with it. Yes, that I don't agree with it, but maybe that's just because I couldn't do it. And speaking in religious terms, I don't think that's how God intended it to happen. But I don't hate homosexuals. And I'm not going to persecute them or anything like that at all. It's not going to be getting in the way between me and another person at all.
Well, it's preached in schools that being gay is okay, and yada, yada, yada.
Conrad Miller.
And if my kids ask me, I'd set them down and I'd say, well, this is what gay people do. This is what animals do. And I tell them,
this is the life. This is the lifestyle. And I told him that's why I believe it's wrong.
There's more gay people around here than what you think.
Murdoch Cooper.
It doesn't bother anybody, because most of them that are gay or lesbian, they know damn well who to talk to. If you step out of line, you're asking for it. Some people are saying Matthew made a path for them boys. You don't pick up regular people. Now, I'm not excusing their actions, but it made me feel better, because it was partially Matthew's fault, and partially the boys who did it, you know? Maybe it's 50-50.
Yes, as a lesbian, I was more concerned for my safety.
Zaki Salmon.
I think we all were, and I think it's because somewhere inside we all know it can happen to us anytime. You know, I mean, I would be afraid to walk down the street and show any sort of physical affection for my partner. You don't do that here in Laramie.
Well, there's this whole idea. I leave you alone, you leave me alone.
Jonas Slonaker.
And it's even in some of the Western literature, you know, live and let live. And that's such crap. I tell my friends that. Even my gay friends say it sometimes. I'm like, that is crap, you know? I mean, basically what it boils down to, if I don't tell you I'm a fag, you won't beat the crap out of me. I mean, what's so great about that? That's a great philosophy.
We went to the candle vigil.
Zubaida Ula.
And it felt so good to be with people who felt like shit. I kept feeling like I didn't deserve to feel this bad, you know? And this guy, he got up there and he said, blah, 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 blah. And I'm saying it wrong, but he basically said, come on guys, let's show the world that Laramie's not this type of town. But it is this type of town. If it wasn't this type of town, why did it happen here? That's a lie, because it happened here. So how could it not be a town where this sort of thing doesn't happen? That's just like looking at an Escher painting and getting all confused. That's just totally circular logic. Like, how can you even say that? And we have to be sad. And we have to mourn this. And we have to be sad that we live in a town, a state, a country where shit like this happens. I feel these are people trying to distance themselves from this. And everyone needs to own this crime. Everyone needs to own it. We are like this. We are like this. We are like this.
Today, I ran into two friends of Aaron McKinney at the Fireside Bar, Shannon and Jen. You both knew Aaron well, right?
Yeah, we both did. When I first found out about it, I thought it was really, really awful. I don't know whether Aaron was high or whether he was coming down or what, but Matthew had money. Shit, he had better clothes than I did. Matthew was a little rich bitch.
You shouldn't call him a rich bitch, though. That's not right.
Well, I don't know. I'm not saying he's a bad guy or whatever, because he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Said the wrong thing. And I won't lie to you, there was times that I was all messed up on meth and I thought about going out and robbing, but I mean, I never did. But yeah, it was there. It's easy money.
Aaron's done that thing before. They both have. I remember one night they went up to Cheyenne to go do it and came back with probably $300. I don't know if they ever chose gay people as like their particular targets before, but anyone that looked like they had a lot of money or that they could, you know, they could outnumber or overpower was fair game.
Do you think that there was any homophobia at all involved that contributed to some of this?
Probably. It probably would have pissed him off that Matthew was gay because he did not like the gay people I've seen him interact with. I mean, he's fine with it as long as it doesn't come up, as long as they don't hit on him.
As long as they weren't doing it in front of him.
Do you get the sense that he knew any other gay people?
Well, yeah, he worked up at the KFC. There was a couple people up there that, yeah, and I'm not saying it's bad or whatever, because half the people I know here in Laramie are gay.
What would you guys say to Aaron if you saw him right now?
First of all, I'd ask him if he'd ever do any more tweak.
If I saw Aaron now, I'd probably be like, man, why'd you screw up like that, you know? But I want to make sure he's doing okay in there. But he probably is, though. I probably just want to, like, hang out with him.
bowl with him.
Everybody wants one so bad.
You both went to Laramie High?
Yeah, can't you tell? We're a product of our society.
On a day that is traditionally given over to nothing more than collegiate exuberance and the fortunes of the University of Wyoming football team, Laramie, Wyoming was having a very different kind of homecoming Saturday as the town searched its soul in the wake of the vicious hate crime committed on Matthew Shepard. Philip Dubois.
Well, this was homecoming weekend, and there's a lot of people in town. And there's a homecoming parade. And the students organized to tag onto the back of it. You know, behind the banner, supporting that and everything. And with the armbands that the students had created.
I live in the center of town, Harry Woods, and my apartment has windows on two opposite streets. One goes north and one goes south, and well, that is exactly the parade route. Now, on the day of the parade, I was in a cast because of a fall. So I was very disappointed because I really wanted to walk with the people that were marching for Matthew that day. But I couldn't. So I just watched from my window, and it's just that, well, I'm 52 years old and I'm gay. I've lived here for many years and I've seen a lot. And I was very moved when I saw the tag at the end of the homecoming parade. About 100 people walking behind a banner for Matthew Shepard. So the parade went to the end of the block to make a U-turn, and I went to the other side of my apartment to wait for it to come south down the other street.
Well, I was right up front there when they were holding the banner for Matthew, and let me tell you, I've never had goosebumps so long in my life. It was incredible, a mass of people, families, mothers holding their 6-year-old kids, tying these armbands around these 6-year-old kids and trying to explain to them why they should wear an armband. Just amazing. I mean, it was absolutely one of the most beautiful things I'd ever done in my entire life.
Well, about 10 minutes went by, and sure enough, the parade started coming down the other street. And then I noticed the most amazing thing. As the parade started coming down the street, the number of people walking for Matthew Shepard had grown 5 times. At least 500 people were marching for Matthew. 500 people, can you even imagine? The tag at the end of the homecoming parade was larger than the entire thing itself. And people kept joining in. And you know what? I started to cry. Tears were streaming down my face, and I thought, thank God I got to see this in my lifetime. And my second thought was, thank you, Matthew.
I haven't been all that involved, per se. My husband's a highway patrolman, so that's really the only way I've known about it. When I first found out, I thought it was just horrible. Nobody deserves that. I don't care who you are. But the other thing that wasn't brought out, at the same time that happened, that patrolman was killed. And there was nothing. They didn't say anything about the old man that killed him. He was driving and shouldn't have been and killed him. And there's just a little piece in the paper. And here's one of our guys. You know, my husband worked with him. This man was brand new on the force. but here's one of our guys. And it's just a little piece in the paper. And a lot of it is my feeling that the media is portraying Matthew Shepard as a saint and making him a martyr, and I don't think he is. I don't think he's that pure. Now, I didn't know him, but there's so many things I found out about him that it's scary. You know, about his character and spreading AIDS, a few other things. And being the kind of person he was just a barfly. I think he pushed himself into it. I think he flaunted it. Everybody's got problems, but why they exemplified him, I don't know. What's the difference if you're gay? Hate crime is a hate crime. If you murder somebody, you hate them. It doesn't matter if you're gay or a prostitute or whatever. I don't understand. I don't understand. Greg and I have been conducting interviews all day. We are exhausted.
We are to meet with Father Roger Schmidt at 7:30 a.m. I was wishing we could skip it all together, but we have to stick it through to the end. So, here goes. 7:30 a.m. 2 queers and a Catholic priest.
Matthew Shepard has served us well. Do you realize that? He served us well. Now, I don't mean to condemn Matthew to perfection, but I can't think of anyone who's done more for this community than Matthew Shepard. Now, I won't stand here and tell you I was just this bold guy, no fear. I was very scared when this happened, and I mean, as a very vocal member of the community, I thought, you know, should we call the bishop and ask him permission to hold the vigil? And I thought, hell no, I'm not going to do that. His permission does not make it correct. You realize that? Now, I'm not knocking bishops, but, well, what is correct is correct. You people are just out here on a search, though. I will trust you. I will trust that if you write a play of this, you say it right. You say it correct. I think you have a responsibility to do that. You think violence is what they did to Matthew? They did do violence to Matthew, but every time you walk down a street and someone calls you a fag or a les or whatever.
Or a dyke.
Dyke. Yeah, dyke. Do you realize that is violence? That is the seed of violence, and I would resent it immensely if you used anything I said to somehow cultivate that kind of violence. I would resent it immensely. You need to know that.
Thank you, Father, for saying that.
Just deal with what is true. You know what is true. You must do your best to say it correct.
Gomez.
Yeah, I knew Aaron. Got thrown in jail with him in this Christmas. Thrown in December, you know, assault and battery in 2 counts. I don't want to talk about it. But anyways, man, I'm sitting there. I'm eating my Christmas dinner, my roll, my bread, you know, my little stuffing and whatnot. And I turn to him, I say, hey, homie, tell me something. You know, tell me something, please. Why would you... Now, I'm trying to think of how I worded this. Basically, I said, why would you kill a faggot if you're going to be destined to be a faggot later? You know what I mean? I mean, he's either going to get humped a lot or he's going to die. Think about it. I don't understand that. And you know what he says to me? Honest to God, man, this is what he says. You know, he goes, he tried to grab my dick. Don't even act like it was nothing, bro. I swear. He dumb, dog. You know, I heard up in the Max Ward where the killers go, they're auctioning those boys off. I want him. I'll put aside 5, 6, hell, 7 cartons of cigarettes for his ass. Auction his ass off. Hell, man, I'd be scared to go to prison if I were those boys.
Hello?
Yes, hello? I believe your wife told you a bit about why I'm contacting you.
Yes, she did. And let me tell you, I know that I want to talk to you about any of this incident. I'm somewhat involved, and I just don't think...
I understand, I completely do, and I don't want to blame you. You know, I went to church the last Sunday.
You went to the services on Sunday?
Yes.
On Sunday?
Yes, this past Sunday.
Did I meet you?
Yes, you welcomed me at the beginning, I believe.
I see. Well, let me tell you, I am not afraid to be controversial or to speak my mind. And that is not necessarily the views of my congregation per se. Now, as I said, I am somewhat involved. That the people in the case, well, the girlfriend of the accused is a member of our congregation, and one of the accused has visited. Now, those 2 boys, the accused, have forfeited their lives. We've been after the 2 I mentioned for ages, trying to get them to live right, to do right. Now, one boy is on suicide watch, and I am working with him. Till they put him in the chair and turn on the juice, I will work for his salvation. Now, I think they deserve the death penalty. I will try to deal with them spiritually.
I understand.
Now, as for the victim, I know that lifestyle is legal, but I will tell you one thing. I hope that Matthew Shepard, as he was tied to that fence, that he had a moment to reflect on a time when someone had spoken the word of the Lord to him, and that before he slipped into a coma, he had a chance to reflect on his lifestyle.
Thank you for your speaking with me, Reverend.
At about 11:30 that night, I had just barely gone to bed, and Margot, our chief operating officer, called me and said his blood pressures began to drop, and, well, let's wait and see. She called me about 10 after. He had just died. And so I quick got dressed and went into the ICU where the family was, and Judy came up to me and she put her arms around me, and I put my arms around her, and we just stood there, honestly, for about 10 minutes, because what else do you do? Then we had to sit and talk through things. Dennis, this is now public knowledge. I have to go out there and tell the world that this has just happened, because by then it was clear that it was the world, that it was the whole world. And so Judy told me what she wanted me to say, and I went out at 4:00 a.m.
Matthew Shepard, medical update. 4:30 a.m. Monday, October 12th.
At 12 midnight, October 12th, Matthew Shepard's blood pressure began to drop. We immediately notified the family, who were already at the hospital, and at 12:53 a.m., Matthew Shepard died. His family was at his bedside, and they did release the following statement. The family would again like me to express their sincerest gratitude towards the entire world, their overwhelming thoughts and concern for their son. they were glad that they did not have to make the decision whether or not to continue life support for their son. And like a good son, he was kind and caring until the end. Matthew's mother said, "Go home, hug your kids. Don't let a day go by without telling them that you love them." I don't know how I let that happen. Lost it on national television. Again, we had been up for like 72 hours straight and had barely gone to bed and having to come back in, and maybe I was just, I don't know, but in a moment of complete brain deadness, I thought of my own 4 daughters and go home and hug your kids, and how she doesn't have her kid anymore. And I just stood there thinking, this is so lame. Afterwards, we began receiving a bunch of letters, and most of them were generally very kind. Thank you for your compassion. And I did get this one. It said, "Do you cry on TV for all of your patients or just the faggots?" And as I told you before, homosexuality is not a lifestyle with which I agree, but having been thrown into this, I guess I didn't understand with which the magnitude that people hate. And out of all the letters that we received, there were maybe 2 or 3 that were like this, and the rest were generally very kind. Thank you for your caring and compassion. And Matthew had caring and compassion since the day he got here.
I spoke with Doc today and told him we would soon be coming back out for the upcoming trials of Russell Henderson and Aaron McKinnon. And this is what he had to say.
I'll tell you what, put those 2 boys to death, that would defeat everything that Matt would be thinking about on that. Because Matt would not want those 2 boys to die. He'd want to leave them with hope. H-O-P-E, just like how the whole world hoped that Matt would survive. The whole thing, you see, the whole thing. Ropes around hope. H-O-P-E.
There will now be another 10-minute intermission.
The day of the funeral, it was snowing so bad, big, huge, wet snowflakes. When I got there, there were thousands of people in just black, with umbrellas everywhere. And there were 2 churches, one for the immediate family, invited guests, people of that nature, and then one church for everybody else who wanted to be there. And then still, hundreds of people that couldn't fit into either of the 2 churches. And there was a big park by the church, and that's where these people were. And this park was full.
The liturgy today is an Easter liturgy. It finds meaning in the resurrection. The service invites your full participation. The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray.
And I guess it's like the worst storm that they'd ever had.
Tiffany Edwards.
Like that anybody could tell. Like trees fell down and the power went out for a couple days because of it. And I just thought, it's like the forces of the universe at work, you know? Like whatever higher spirit, you know, was like, that blows storms, was blowing this storm.
Let us pray to our Lord Jesus Christ, who said, "I am the resurrection and the life." We pray to the Lord.
Hear us, Lord.
You consoled Martha and Mary in their distress. Draw near to those of us who mourn, and dry the tears of those who weep. We pray to the Lord.
Hear us, Lord.
You wept at the grave of Lazarus, your friend. Comfort us in our sorrows. We pray to the Lord.
Hear us, Lord.
You raise the dead to life. Grant our brother eternal life. We pray to the Lord.
Hear us, Lord.
You promised paradise to the thief who repented. Grant our brother the joys of heaven. We pray to the Lord.
Hear us, Lord.
He was nourished with your body and blood. Grant him a place at the table in your heavenly kingdom. We pray to the Lord.
Hear us, Lord.
Comfort us in our sorrows at the death of our brother. Let eternal faith be our hope and life be our consolation. We pray to the Lord.
My most striking memory from the funeral
Carrie Drake, Casper Star Tribune.
is seeing the Reverend Fred Phelps from Kansas. That scene go up in the park.
Do you believe the Bible? Do you believe you're supposed to separate the precious from the vile? You don't believe that part of the Bible? You stand over there ignorant of the fact that the Bible, 2 times for every verse it talks about God's love, it talks about God's hate.
A bunch of high school kids who got out early came over and started yelling at the people in the protest, the Fred Phelps people.
But this one is different.
And across the
because
street,
the
you
fags
had
are bringing
people
us
lining
out
up the
here,
funeral.
trying to turn Matthew Shepard into a
I
poster
remember
boy
this
for the
guy.
gay lifestyle.
I remember this
And we're going to
skinhead.
answer it.
He came out into the
It's just
crowd
that
and he was
simple.
dressed in leather and spikes
You don't
everywhere.
like
and
that
I just thought,
attribute of God.
This
That
is going
perfect
to be a
attribute
really
of God.
ugly confrontation.
Well, we love that
but
attribute of God,
instead
and we're
he
going to
came over
preach
and
it.
he started leading them
Because
in
God's
amazing
hatred
grace.
is pure. It's a determination. It's a determination that he's going to send some people to hell. We're standing here with God's message. We're standing here with God's message. What do you mean it's not for you to judge? If God doesn't hate fags, why does he put them in hell? You see, the bareness and
6 months later,
silly arguments.
the company returned to the trial of Russell Henderson, the first of the 2 perpetrators.
Barren and stare.
It was to be a capital murder trial.
When those old preachers laid their
When we
hands
got
on
to
me,
the Albany
it's
County
called an
Courthouse, Fred
Mine was
Phelps
from
was
Isaiah
already
58:1.
there, but
Cry aloud, spare not.
so was
Lift up
Romaine
thy voice like a
Patterson.
trumpet, and show my people their transgressions. Do you believe the Bible? Do you believe you're supposed to separate the precious from the vile? You don't believe that part of the Bible? You stand over there, ignorant
After
of the fact
seeing
that the
Fred
Bible,
Phelps
2 times
protesting
for every
at
verse it talks
Matthew's
about God's
funeral
love,
and
it
finding
talks
out
about
that he
God's
was
hate.
coming to Laramie for the trial of Russell
If this was
Henderson,
just another
I
murder, the
decided
state
that
was gonna
somebody needed to stand toe to
deals
toe
with hundreds
with
of
them
murders
and show
every
the
single day.
differences.
But this one is different.
And I think that at times like this, when we're talking about
Trying to turn
hatred as
Matthew
much as
Shepard
the nation
into a
is right
poster
now,
boy for the
that
gay lifestyle.
somebody needed to show
And we're
that there
going
is
to
a
answer.
better way of dealing
It's
with
just that
that
simple.
kind of hatred.
You don't like that attribute of God.
So our idea is to
That
dress up
perfect
as
attribute
angels.
of God.
So
Well,
we've
we love
designed
that
an angel
attribute of God,
costume
and we're going
for
to
our
preach
wings
it.
to be huge.
Because God's
They're
hatred
like
is pure.
big ass wings.
It's a determination.
And what
It's a
we're going to
determination
do
that he's going to send
is
some people
there'll
to
be
hell.
10 to 20 of us that are angels.
We're standing
and
here with
we're
God's
going
message.
to encircle Phelps
We're
because of
standing
our
here
big
with God's
wings.
message.
We're going to completely
What do you mean
block
it's not
him.
for you to judge?
So this big ass
God
band
doesn't
of
hate
angels
bags.
comes in.
Why does he put him
And
in
we
hell?
don't say a word. We just
fairness
stand there
and
and turn our backs to him.
Silly arguments.
And we are a group of people that are
Solid
bringing
gospel
forth a message of peace
Just like
and
your
love
lifestyle.
and compassion.
Barren and
And
sterile.
we're calling it
Your silly
angel
arguments.
action.
When those old preachers
Yeah.
laid their hands on
This
me,
21-year-old
it's
little
called
lesbian is
ordination.
ready to walk in line with him.
Mine was from Isaiah
And I knew
58:1.
that my angels were going to be
Cry
taking the
aloud.
brunt of everything he
Spare
had
not.
to yell and say.
Lift up thy voice like a
You're
trumpet
going to be
and show
blocking
my
his
people their
view. He's gonna be,
transgressions.
like pissed off to all hell.
Do you
so
believe the Bible?
I went out and bought all
Do you
my
believe you're
angels
supposed to separate the
earplugs.
precious from the vile? You don't believe that part of the Bible? You stand over there ignorant of the fact that the Bible, 2 times for every verse it talks about God's love, it talks about God's hate. We wouldn't be here if this was just another murder the state was going to deal with. The state deals with hundreds of murders every single day. But this one is different because the fags are bringing us out here, trying to turn Matthew Shepard into a poster boy for the gay lifestyle. And we're going to answer it. It's just that simple. You don't like that attribute of God, that perfect attribute of God. Well, we love that attribute of God, and we're going to preach it. Because God's hatred is pure. It's a determination. It's a determination that He's going to send some people to hell. We're standing here with God's message. We're standing here with God's message. What do you mean it's not for you to judge? If God doesn't hate facts, why does He put them in hell?
I see.
The court is in session.
As soon as jury selection started, everybody was coming to my shop with, "I don't want to do this, I hope they don't call me," or, "Oh my God, I've been called, how do I get off?" Just wanting to get as far away from it as they could, very fearful that they were going to have to be a part of that jury. And I heard Henderson had to sit in the courtroom while they questioned prospective jurors, and one of the questions they ask is, "Would you be willing to put this person to death?" And I understand a lot of the comments were, "Yes, I would."
Yes, I would, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
No problem. Yep.
Well, can you imagine hearing that? Juror after juror after juror. You entered a not guilty plea earlier, Mr. Henderson, but I understand you wish to change your plea, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You do understand that the recommended sentence is 2 life sentences.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that they may run concurrently or consecutively?
Yes, sir.
I will now ask you how you wish to plead, guilty or not guilty.
Guilty.
Before the court decides whether the sentences will run concurrently or consecutively, I believe that there are statements to be made by at least one individual.
The following is an excerpt from a statement made to the court by Lucy Thompson.
As the grandmother and the person who raised Russell, along with my family, we have written the following statement. Our hearts ache for the pain and suffering that the shepherds have went through. We have prayed for your family since the very beginning. Many times throughout the day, I have thought about Matt, and you will continue to be in our thoughts and prayers, as we know that your pain will never go away. You have showed such mercy in allowing us to have this plea, and we are so grateful that you are giving us all the opportunity to live. Your Honor, we as a family hope that as you sentence Russell, you will do it concurrently to life terms. For the Russell we know and love, Your Honor, we humbly plead to not take Russell completely out of our lives forever.
Thank you. Mr. Henderson, you have a constitutional right to make a statement if you'd like to do so. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
Yes, I would, Your Honor. Mr. and Mrs. Shepherd, there is not a day that goes by that I don't see what happened that night. I know what I did was very wrong, and I regret greatly what I did. You have my greatest sympathies for what happened. I hope that one day you may be able to find it in your hearts to forgive me. Your Honor, I know what I did was wrong. I'm very sorry for what I did, and I'm ready to pay my debt for what I did.
Mr. Henderson, you drove the vehicle that took Matthew Shepard to his death. You tied him to that buck fence so that you might more savagely beat him. and so that he might not escape to tell his tale. You left him out there for 18 hours, knowing full well that he was there, perhaps having an opportunity to save his life, and you did nothing. Mr. Henderson, this court does not believe that you feel any true remorse for what you've done, and I wonder whether you realize the gravity of what you've done. Therefore, the court finds it appropriate to order the sentence as follows. As to count 3, kidnapping, murder with robbery, you are to serve a period of imprisonment for the term of your natural life. As to count 1, kidnapping, you are to serve a period of imprisonment for the term of your natural life. Sentencing for count 1 to run consecutive for sentencing for count 3.
After the hearing, we spoke with Russell Henderson's Mormon home teacher.
I have been a friend of Russell's family for 38 years. Russell is only 21, so I've known him his entire life. I ordained Russell a priest of the Mormon Church. So when this happened, you can imagine, disbelief. After the sentencing, the church held a disciplinary council, the result of which was to excommunicate Russell from the church. And that means that your name is taken off the records, so you just disappear. This hurt Russell, and it hurt him too to realize at that point how serious a transgression he had made. I will not abandon Russell. That is a matter of my religion and my friendship with the family.
Before leaving Laramie, we spoke again with Rebecca Hilliker at the University of Wyoming. She's putting on Angels in America this year.
I think that's the focus the university has taken, is that, we have a lot of work to do, that we have an obligation to reach our students. And the question is, how do we move? How do we reach a state where there is such a deep-seated hostility towards gays? Well, this is the first step. And guess who's auditioning for the lead?
My parents.
Jedediah Schultz.
My parents were like, so what plays are you doing in school this year? And I was like, Angels in America, and I told them the whole list of plays. And they go, Angels in America, is that the play you did in high school? The scene you did in high school? And I go, yeah. And they go, so are you gonna audition for it? And I go, yeah. And we got into this huge argument. And the best thing I knew I had them on was, it was right after they had seen me in a performance of Macbeth. And on stage, I murdered like a little kid and Lady Macduff and these 2 other guys. And, she kept saying homosexuality is a sin. She kept saying that. And I go, Mom, I just played a murderer on stage tonight. And you didn't seem to have a problem with that. I tell you, I never prepared myself this much for an audition in my life. Never, ever. Not even close.
Not having to deal that much with the gay society here in Laramie.
Detective Rob Debris.
Once we started working into the case and interviewing people of Laramie who were gay and finding their underlying fears, and then it really hit home. This is America. You don't have the right to feel that fear, and we may still have people who hold with the old ideals. I might have been one myself 14 months ago, but I'm not going to put up with it, and I'm not going to listen to it. If they don't like my views on it, then fine. The door goes both ways. I've lost a couple of my good buddies this way, and I don't care. At least I'm comfortable and I can sleep at night.
Well, you're tested every 3 months.
Reggie Flutie.
And I was able to have the DNA work done, and they got me up to Fort Collins, they drew the blood there, flew it to Michigan, which was a week later. I knew I was negative for good.
I tell ya, we were all on our knees saying, Hail Mary.
You're just so elated, and you think, thank God.
So what's the first thing she does?
I stuck my tongue right in my husband's mouth. You're so happy, you think, I hope I did this service well, I hope I did it with some form of integrity, but you're just so happy, and my daughters just bawled.
They were so happy.
And the fourth.
Oh boy.
We went out and got shit-faced. They all bought me drinks too. It was great. And I kissed everybody who came through the door. I didn't care if they were male or female. They each got a kiss on the lips.
Reggie, they don't need to know that.
Oh, get over it, Ma.
Almost a year to the day that Matthew Shepard died. The trial for Aaron James McKinney was set to begin.
Probably the question that most of you have in your mind is how the McKinney case will proceed.
Kamaruka, prosecuting attorney.
And that is the decision of the judge and the jury that will definitely be a death penalty case.
Part of me wants McKinney to get it, but I don't know. I've been off and on and off. I can't say what I would do. I'm too personally involved.
Oh, I believe in the death penalty, 100%, because I want to make sure that guy's ass dies. This is one instance where I truly believe with all my heart, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth.
I don't know about the death penalty, but I don't ever want to see these guys walk out of Rawlins Penitentiary. I will pay my nickel, or whatever, my little percentage of tax, nickel a day, to make sure this ass stays in there and never sees society again, and definitely never walks into my bar again.
I don't believe in the death penalty. It's too much for me. I don't believe that one person should be killed as redemption for his having killed another. Two wrongs don't make a right.
How can I protest if the Shepherds want McKinney dead? I just can't interfere. But on a personal level, I knew Aaron in grade school. We called him AJ. How can we put AJ McKinney to death?
I think right now our most important teachers will be Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson. They have to be our teachers. How did you learn? What did we do as a society to teach you that? Now see, I don't know if many people will let them be their teachers. I think it would be great if the judge said, well, in addition to your sentence, you must tell your story. You must tell your story.
All rise. State of Wyoming versus Aaron James McKinney. Docket number 6381. The Honorable Sir Bart Voigt. The court is in session.
During the trial, the prosecution played a tape recording of McKinney's confession.
My name is Rob Debris, detective for the Sheriff's Office, who have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and may be used against you in a court of law.
The following is an excerpt from that confession.
So, you two, you and Russ, go to the fireside. You're at the fireside by yourselves, right?
Yeah.
Okay, where do you two go after you leave the fireside?
Some kid wanted to ride home.
What's he look like?
Like a queer, such a gay dude.
He looks like a queer?
Yeah, like a fag, you know?
Okay, how did you meet him?
He wanted to ride home, and I just thought, well, the dude's drunk, let's just take him home.
Okay, what happened next?
We drove him out past Walmart. We drive in and he grabs my leg, slides his arm like he's gonna try to grab my genitals. I'm like, hey man, I'm not a fucking faggot. Touch me one more time, you're gonna get it. I don't know what the hell he was trying to do, but I jacked him up pretty bad. He got killed.
What'd you beat him with?
Blacked out. My fist, pistol, butt of the gun. Wondering what happened to me. I had a few drinks and, well, I don't know. It's like I could see what was going on, but as if someone else was doing it.
What was the first thing that he said or did inside the truck that made you want to hit him?
Grabbed my leg. Grabbed my leg like he was gonna try to grab my balls.
When that defense team argued that McKinney did what he did because Matthew made a pass at him, I just wanted to vomit, you know, because that's like saying that it's okay. It's like the Twinkie defense. When that guy killed Harvey Milk in Moscone, it's the same thing.
As much as part of me didn't want the defense of them saying that it was a gay bashing or that it was a gay panic, part of me is really grateful because I thought, okay, this is good. If nothing else is going to come out of this, the truth is coming out. The truth is coming out.
he ever try to defend himself? Hit you back?
I don't know. He tried his little swings or whatnot, but nothing was that effective.
How many times did you hit him inside the truck before you two stopped where he left it?
I'd say 2 or 3 times. Probably hit him like 3 times with my fist and maybe 6 times with the pistol.
Did he ask you to stop?
Well, yeah, he was getting the shit kicked out of him.
What did he say?
Most all he ever did after I asked him to stop was scream.
So Russ kind of dragged him over the fence, I'm assuming, and tied him up?
Something like that. I just remember Russ was laughing at first, but then he got kind of scared.
Was Matthew conscious when Russ tied him up?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I told him not to look at my license plate, you know, because I didn't want him to tell the police. But I asked him if he would read it aloud, and well, he just read it, so I had to hit him a few more times.
Just to be sure? So you obviously don't like gay people?
No, I don't.
Would you say you hate them?
I don't really hate them, but when they start coming on to me, I get kind of aggravated.
Did he threaten?
This gay dude?
Yeah.
Not really.
Can you answer me one thing? Why'd you guys take his shoes?
I don't know. You know, now I'll never get to see my son again.
I don't know. Probably go to court sometime today.
Today? You mean like I'm just gonna go in there and plead guilty or not guilty today?
No, you're being arraigned today.
Is he gonna die for sure?
There is no doubt that Mr. Shepard is going to die.
So what are they gonna give me? 25 to life or death penalty? Get it over with.
That's not our job. That is the decision of the judge and the jury.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
We have. We, the jury, paneled and sworn to try the above entitled case, have well and truly tried the matter. Unanimously find as follows. As to the charge of kidnapping, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty. As to the charge of aggravated robbery, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty. As the charge of first-degree felony murder, kidnapping, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty.
The jury found McKinney guilty of felony murder, which meant they could give him the death penalty. So, that evening, Judy and Dennis Shepard were approached by McKinney's defense team, who pled for their client's life. Following morning, Dennis Shepard made a statement to the court. Here is some of what he said.
My son Matthew did not look like a winner. He was rather uncoordinated and wore braces from the age of 13 until the day that he died. However, in his all too brief life, he proved that he was a winner. On October 6, 1998, my son tried to show the world that he could win again. On October 12, 1998, my firstborn son and my hero lost. On October 12, 1998, my firstborn son and my hero died just 50 days before his 22nd birthday. I keep wondering the same thing that I did when I first saw him in the hospital. What would he become? How could he have changed his piece of the world to make it a better place? Matt officially died in a hospital in Fort Collins, Colorado. But he actually died on the outskirts of Laramie, tied to a fence. You, Mr. McKinney, and your friend, Mr. Henderson, left him out there by himself. But he wasn't alone. He had his lifelong friends with him, friends that he had grown up with. You're probably wondering who these friends were. First, he had the beautiful night sky and the same stars and moon that we used to see through a telescope. And then he had the sun and the daylight to shine down on him. And through it all, he was breathing in the scent of pine trees from the snowy range. And he heard the wind, the ever-present Wyoming wind for the last time. And he had one more friend with him, because he had God. And I feel better knowing that he wasn't alone. Matt's beating, hospitalization, and funeral focused worldwide attention on hate. Good is coming out of evil. People have said that enough is enough. I miss my son very much, but I am proud to be able to say that he is my son. It has been stated that Judy is against the death penalty. It has also been said that Matthew was against the death penalty. But both of these statements are wrong. Matt believed that there were incidents that justified the death penalty. And I, too, believe in the death penalty. I would like nothing better than to see you die, Mr. McKinney. But now is the time to begin the healing process, to show mercy to someone who refused to show any mercy. Mr. McKinney, I am going to grant you life as hard as it is for me to do so because of Matthew. Every time you celebrate Christmas, a birthday, the 4th of July, remember that Matt isn't. Every time that you wake up in your prison cell, you remember that you had the ability and the opportunity to stop your actions that night. You robbed me, Mr. McKinney, of something very precious, and I will never forgive you. Mr. McKinney, I grant you life in the memory of one who no longer lives. May you have a long life. And may you thank Matthew every day for it.
Me and Debris hugged and cried. Everyone had tears in their eyes, and then Mr. Shepherd started crying, and that got me bawling.
This has been my case daily for the past year, and well, it's over.
I think that we're glad to maybe get moved on, you know?
It just hit me the moment that I got out of that courthouse. The reason that God wanted me to find him is before he didn't have to die out there alone, you know? 'Cause if I wouldn't have come along, he probably wouldn't have been found for a couple of weeks, at least. So it makes me feel really good that he didn't have to die out there alone.
I'm just glad it's over. I really am. Testifying in that trial was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my entire life. And don't get me wrong, I love the stage. I really do love it, but it's hard for me because basically what you've got is you've got lawyers questioning you from this angle, but the answers need to be funneling this way to the jury. So basically what you've got to do is you've got to establish a funneling system. But that's kind of tricky because I'm a natural conversationalist, so it's just natural instinct that when someone asks you a question, you look at that person to make eye contact. But I was able to do this several times over the course of my testimony.
I think for even the citizens are having the town painted red, so to speak. Or maybe gonna be glad to maybe just get moved on, you know?
Before we left Laramie, for the last time, I had the good fortune of seeing Jedediah Schultz perform the role of Prior in Angels in America.
I didn't for the longest time let myself get personally involved in the Matthew Shepard thing. It just didn't seem real. It seemed way blown out of proportion, you know? Matthew Shepard was a name instead of an individual. I don't know, it's weird. It's so weird, man. I just feel bad for all the things I said, for the person I used to be. That's why I want to hear those interviews from last year when I said all that stuff about homosexuals, you know? How could I ever let this stuff make me think that you were any different from me?
This is Romaine Patterson.
Well, a year ago, I wanted to be a rock star. That's what my big goal was. But, well, now it's obviously changed in that I really realized my role in taking my part. So now, instead of going to school for music, I'm going to school for communications and political science. Because I have a career in political activism. Actually, I just found out that I'm being honored in Washington, D.C. by the Anti-Defamation League, and, well, whenever I think about the Angels or any of the speaking I've done, Matthew gave me. Matthew's like guiding me on this little path with his light, and whenever there's a door, he opens it, and he says, okay, next step. And if I get to be a rock star too, well, okay.
This is Jonas Sloniker.
Change is not an easy thing. And I don't think a lot of people were up for it here. The town got what they wanted, and those two boys got what they deserved. Town's cleaned up and justice has been served. The OK Corral, you know, we shot down the villains and sent the prostitutes on the train. The town's cleaned up and we don't even really need to talk about it anymore. But, you know, it's been over a year since Matt Shepard died, and they haven't passed shit in Wyoming. At a state level, any town, nobody anywhere has passed any type of laws, anti-hate laws or discrimination laws. It's like What's come out of this? What's come out that's concrete or lasting?
Before we left, we all agreed that we would all meet together one last time at the fence.
I've been up to that site in my limousine, and I remember the night that he and I drove around together. He said to me, "Laramie sparkles, doesn't it? And where he was, if you go exactly where he was, Laramie sparkles with a low-lying cloud. It's the blue lights from the airport that's bouncing off the clouds, and it goes all over the city. I mean, it blows you away." And that was right there. It's right there in that spot. And I can just picture, I can see in his eyes, the last thing he saw on this earth was the sparkling lights.
We've spent the last 2 days packing up a year's worth of materials and saying our goodbyes. We've been here 6 times and have conducted over 200 interviews. Jedediah cried when he said goodbye.
Marge wished us luck, and when we asked her how Laramie would feel seeing a play about itself, she said,
I think we'd enjoy it. To show it's not the hellhole of earth would be nice, but that is up to how you portray us, and that in turn is up to how Laramie acts.
As we were getting off the phone with her, she said to me,
Take care. I love you, honey.
Doc asked me if I wanted to ghostwrite a book about the whole event. Galloway offered me, or anyone else, a place to stay if and when we come back to Laramie. He also seemed interested as to whether or not there'd be any open auditions for this play.
We left Laramie at about 7 in the evening. On our way back to Denver, I took a look into my rearview mirror to take one last look at the town.
And I will speak with you. I will trust that if you write a play of this, you say it right, say it correct. You must do your best to say it correct.
And in the distance, we could see the sparkling lights of Laramie, Wyoming.
Ha 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 ha!